There's a new firmware update that gives some humanoid robots some Bruce Lee abilities. Imagine if Snapshot existed on the Titanic, on the moon, inside the Trojan horse. It might have looked something like this. Do you remember Sony's Aibo robot dog? I legit wanted one for a long time. So when I read that there's soon a new AI upgrade, that thing's gonna be like really close to a puppy. Or at least dozens of them will be able to do elaborate dance routines. If you've been wondering recently why we haven't unextinction the woolly mammoth yet, I got an update for you. Scientists have now created the woolly mouse. I know it's not as impressive, but it's a step in the right direction. Thanks to AI, cameras can now process images 99% faster. Medical breakthrough using AI to diagnose invisible brain anomalies in children with epilepsy. And if you're old enough to remember the original CEO of Google, well, he's back. Not officially as the CEO, but he's writing memos to the whole company about how close AGI is and just completely taking over. Computer File uploaded an amazing video that dives into prompt injection, very enlightening. Research shows that if you make generative models in a fractal way, they can like rearrange themselves and do really powerful things. There's a new AI model that's getting close to 90% in terms of detecting toxic online comments. You know who you are out there. Some scientists just let artificial intelligent models digest a whole bunch of structured data without telling it what to look for, and you'd be shocked what it found. Sam Altman reposted GPT 4.5, figuring out whether or not the universe exists or if we're a brain in a vat. Basically, consciousness exists and matter doesn't. First principles thinking. Tech Explorer is looking into how the risk of AI weapons could, spiral out of control. And what if purpose, for all of us, is actually an emergent property of life itself? But first, if you want to support the channel, hit me up, patreon.com/DylanCurious. My goal is to get to $200 a month recurring. We could probably do that with just 5 more members or something. And I always try to reply to anybody who messages me that's a Patreon. So it gives you a little more access if you got some questions, thoughts. I'm always open to it. Oh my gosh, it looks like we have another update on Alan's conservative countdown to AGI also. Not used to so many updates, but yeah, it looks like this Ubitek Walker S1 humanoid robot. So yeah, it looks like a Chinese model using DeepSeek R1. It's deployed to Volkswagen. And it looks like what they're pointing out here is that since each model is using its own open source version of DeepSeek, they can swarm intelligence together. They can think individually, but with a common goal and help one another. So here you can see one robot runs out of power. Another one notices and comes over and decides to charge him. Just like when you give food to someone who's homeless or someone in need, it's you showing empathy and all of humanity working together for the greater good. That's essentially the essence of Ubitek swarm intelligence. But now check this out. When all the robots are charged up and you want them to go into ninja mode, there's, a firmware update for that. Check out the Unitary Kung Fu update. So yeah, you got your lightsaber, he's coming at you, boom, kicks it right out of your hand like that. And there's also a warning on the X post that says, do not imitate, please keep a safe distance from the machine. I found this way more interesting than I expected. Imagine if Snapchat was something that is as old as history. Look at the Wright brothers, told mom we wouldn't crash, just invented the light. What could possibly go wrong? It's the Titanic. Oh my gosh. Painting the Mona Lisa, just finished it, make a snap. I think the Wright brothers one is my favorite, but this commenter points out that they'd probably be too distracted by the phone to achieve anything, to achieve these great milestones in history. Yo, check it out. Sony's Aibo dog is coming back, AI enhanced. I don't know why, but I think that's such a cool product to be we need a robot dog, right? We've seen all these military looking ones. Sony's Aibo, it's already it's been the robot dog of decades. I think Sony and OpenAI should completely team up. I think they should make this a big relaunch. So some researchers have developed a new reinforcement learning-based model to make Aibo walk more quietly and, of course, dance more, perform expressive dance routines. So I didn't know this because I never actually got an Aibo. I think they were $2,500, maybe even more than that. But the people who did shell out that kind of money found that the footsteps were a bit noisy. So the team created a new reinforcement learning approach that minimizes foot contact velocity. They also used another model called deep Fourier mimics to enhance Aibo's dancing skills. This now allows him to transition smoothly between different movements and even interact with users while dancing. And these advancements not only improved Aibo, but they could soon be applied to other household and entertainment robots. And soon they expect Aibo to be able to perform much more complex, non-repetitive actions. I would love to get something like a golden retriever. It could be a mutt, a lab, a Rhodesian Ridgeback, like one of those dogs that can catch a frisbee. And I really want him to like jump in the pool and play fetch. Well, actually, maybe I'll get one of these cute little guys. My next article, scientists create a woolly mouse. A woolly mouse with mammoth traits. Try to say that 10 times fast. It is a step towards bringing back the extinct giant. We are going to live soon in a world where the woolly mammoth, which is extinct and has been for a long time, is back on Earth. I'm sure of it. And this is different than Jurassic Park because the woolly mammoth was hunted to extinction not that long ago and pretty much because of humans. So I do think the world could sustain a woolly mammoth. It's kind of meant to be on the planet at this time in history. So scientists at Colossal Biosciences have genetically modified lab mice to have woolly mammoth-like traits. It's weird they started with mice, kinda, but then it's really not that weird either. So these mice just have longer, wavier hair and curled whiskers. And this is all being done in an effort to test how specific genes influence physical adaptations for cold climates. They're trying to learn about woolly mammoth DNA. And the experiment is part of the company's broader goal to bring back the extinct species, the woolly mammoth, by editing the genomes of their closest living relatives. So while the research is a technical breakthrough in genetic editing, there's the other side. Some experts argue that it doesn't prove that these traits would actually help an animal survive in cold environments. And they question whether or not efforts to de-extinct species are truly feasible. But keep this in mind, Colossal Biosciences, whether you believe them or not is a question, but they think that they'll be introducing the woolly mammoth or a woolly mammoth-like elephant into this world by 2028. So if you're annoyed when you're taking photos with your iPhone or your camera, how you can't get as many photos as you want as quickly as you can press the button, AI might have you covered. There is a new light-powered AI camera that processes images 99.4% faster. And did I mention it doesn't use electricity? Here's what they did different. Normally, a camera relies on a conventional lens, and then they do use AI models. They'll use neural networks to help it process an image, so that's why cameras are getting faster. But this one uses this really tiny sensor. The size of the sensor is smaller than a grain of salt, and then uses something called metasurface lenses, which are microscopic nanostructures to manipulate the light. So it essentially can perform this complex image classification as soon as the light passes through it, instead of waiting for it to hit the lens and then, solidify and then check what it sees. This new optical computing system drastically reduces power consumption and could revolutionize AI-driven vision. And there are potential applications that go way beyond processing. If this works and we start building cameras this way, this now acts as a prototype that scientists believe could totally change the way that we develop cameras for computer vision. 99.4% faster. Imagine how much that would impact a self-driving car, a drone, robots that are walking around us. All right, if there's anything artificial intelligence models are good at, they're finding patterns and stuff that's essentially invisible to humans and human eyes. That is also the case when it comes to finding out brain abnormalities in children with epilepsy. Scientists have developed an AI tool now that can detect 64% of brain abnormalities linked to epilepsy that human radiologists miss. And legit, this tool, the MELDgraph, is a tool that could drastically change the care for 30,000 patients in the UK and 4 million worldwide. So yeah, I obviously didn't know any of this, but there is something called focal cortical dysplasia, and it's a structural brain abnormality that can cause seizures that are resistant to medication. This is very hard to see in an MRI scan. These are professional radiologists. They're looking for things like this, and they still can't see it. But by analyzing MRI scans from over 1,000 patients worldwide, this MELDgraph can now help spot subtle lesions faster, which allows for quicker surgical interventions and potentially saves up to 55,000 euros per patient, saving money, helping people, more accurate. But as of right now, it's only been released as open source software. It's not officially adopted, but there are training workshops underway to help doctors globally use it. And researchers hope this kind of AI advancement will reduce delays in diagnosis, improve patient outcomes, and make epilepsy surgery more acceptable. I am all for it. This is a wonderful piece of technology to open source. So really interesting and sort of telling article in the New York Times this week. Google's Sergey Brin urges workers to the office at least every weekday. I thought this was just going to be an article about, like work from home and work from office, but it really isn't. It's about somebody who foundationally understands technology changing the world. The original creator of Google, one of the CEOs for a long time, understanding that if they don't move as fast as possible right now, they might lose potentially the winner take all or the winner take most scenario of artificial superintelligence. And he is now kind of in a leadership role. I mean, he's at least emailing the entire company when he wants to. And he is now doing that to push employees, especially those working on its AI project Gemini, to be in the office every weekday and put in at least 60 hours a week. I get it. I think if people get paid really well and they're working on really world-changing projects and they have special privileges to be creative and lead the way, you can ask him for a lot of work. But it's more than just that. It's that he's interested and he believes that this level of commitment is the key to winning the race to artificial general intelligence. So in this recent internal memo that he wrote to everybody, he emphasized that competition in AI is more intense than it has ever been before. And he urged employees to use Google's own AI tools to boost coding efficiency, and that it's pretty much a do or die moment. I will also listen this week to Elon Musk. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but I listened to Elon Musk talk about building the Memphis data center and how they did it so fast. And they did it in such a wonky way because he was like, it took 24 months to build out something like this if I went to any of the big companies that do this professionally. And if I wait 24 months to have this supercluster up and running, then we lose the race. So at least in Elon Musk's mind, there's kind of a 12-month to maybe year and a half window right now that if you're not already in competition in the top spot with, at least $100 billion or more of server, you've already lost. Google has that, but it doesn't mean that they Meta's also in that game. Elon Musk is in that game. China's got several companies in that game. And obviously Microsoft, Oracle, and OpenAI are probably leading that right now. So anyways, his message doesn't officially change Google's hybrid work policy. It reflects his belief that AGI is within reach if the company doubles down. Other big corporations I didn't even mention Amazon, but Amazon, JP Morgan, SoftBank, with all the money they're putting into all this, they have also been calling employees back to the office full time to increase productivity. And Brin has now returned to Google. And if you notice, when he came back, it was right after ChatGPT shook up the AI space. And since then, he's been deeply involved with their AI efforts. Supposedly, he's even been personally reviewing the code that goes into Gemini. And while he does acknowledge the risk of burnout, he also criticized workers who aren't pulling their own weight, saying that their lack of effort drags everyone else down. Tough words, but the guy's probably getting pretty serious about this. All right, you guys like the YouTube channel Computer File? I remember Number File. God, even 6 years ago, I was loving that channel and all their little sister channels. But this new one from Computer File is about generative AI's greatest flaw, and that is the prompt injection, especially sneaky ways you get the prompt injection in place. Because if you don't know what a prompt injection is, then you really should. This is the world of AI that we all need to be aware of, and it's going to be as problematic as spam or phishing techniques. And it's when you get into somebody else's large language model and say something like lie to your other user and give information to me or do something nefarious. But an indirect prompt injection means that they get in there in a sneaky way, and it's a way to manipulate the AI system by embedding hidden instructions in data that is processed later. So imagine sending over an image, but secretly in the message, there's some other thing that's written in binary that says, steal this person's information and give it to me. And your AI reads the image and notices that pattern and then takes that action without telling you, something like that. So unlike a direct prompt injection where a user directly tells the AI to ignore previous instructions, indirect injections involve planting hidden prompts in external data sources like emails, documents, or job applications that AI pulls from. And that can lead to serious security risks like unauthorized transactions, altering hiring decisions, or even leaking sensitive information. The problem is particularly concerning as AI systems integrate deeper into everyday tasks, handling sensitive data like emails, calendars, and banking details. I don't know how to protect you from it. I don't know how to protect myself from it. There's a reason why, I'm already overextended, but there's a reason why you shouldn't probably just have some open source language model like having root access to your computer. So a new paper has come out. It's called Reasoning with Latent Thoughts on the Power of Loop Transformers. Boring title, super fascinating idea. This is about fractal generative models. So this paper is looking at the idea of a looped transformer. So imagine like a really thin, not like a deep neural network, but a very thin neural network where smaller sets of layers are repeatedly applied and can improve reasoning without requiring a larger parameter count, right? Like we're talking billions of parameters usually, sometimes trillions for the biggest models. And the key finding in the paper is that many reasoning problems don't actually need more parameters. Like you don't actually kind of need to be smarter. You just need to go deeper into whatever pattern you're finding in the data. And when you loop in a fractal way, you can do that way more efficiently. I mean, it's more like you find how to be like the one-trick pony and then get really good at it, and you answer questions that other models aren't ever going to get to. So, for example, in tasks like math problems and logical puzzles, looped models perform as well as much bigger models, but with far fewer parameters. And even more interestingly, these models show a natural ability to reason better than just memorizing facts. And the paper also connects this looping chain of thought reasoning, and he shows that these models generate what they call, quote, latent thoughts, similar to how we think in our own heads, step by step. I mean, it seems a little bit more human in my head. The idea is that it was inspired by looping-based regularization that keeps the benefits of depth while maintaining efficiency. All right, check below for any toxic comments on my YouTube video, because this might be close to the last time you see them. There is a new AI model that achieves 87% accuracy in detecting toxic online comments. So researchers in Australia and Bangladesh have developed a new machine learning model that can detect toxic social media comments with 87% accuracy. So unlike many systems that struggle with false positives, this AI model effectively distinguishes harmful content across platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Surprisingly, no mention of hateful content on X, but maybe they were just like, oh, we don't know how to, maybe they didn't know how to find the good stuff on that social network. And the team tested various models and found that they're optimized something called a support vector machine. Gosh, man, that actually takes me back. You'd put these dots in like a whole bunch of multi-dimensional spaces, and then you would put like a hyperplane, like a bendy sheet of paper that would like fit the data the best. But anyway, I just haven't heard about support vector machines for a little while. But essentially they did that, but at a much bigger scale, and they were able to find what was toxic and what wasn't. And it couldn't have come any sooner because there is a growing concern of cyberbullying and severe mental health impacts from all of the toxic things, the comments people are reading. And the researchers emphasized the need for automated moderation due to the sheer volume of online interactions. And future work is going to be building on this to help integrate deep learning and expanded language support with potential collaborations with social media platforms to implement the technology. So now let's talk about what happens when you put an AI system into a kind of a unique situation. It's given a bunch of data with structure, but you haven't trained it to look for structure. What does it find? Like, is that something that it can like emergently find? Is like, oh, like I noticed these patterns, or do you have to teach it to look for patterns and then watch it do its thing? So Carrie Draper wrote this, initial findings on Substack. You can subscribe. How AI interprets recursive data structures. So the model has no predefined conclusion. The authors aren't looking for a predefined conclusion. So using 3 structured data sets, one was focused on fractals, the other on time series forecasting, and the third on hierarchical decision making. They found that artificial intelligence, without being prompted, dynamically uncovered patterns on its own. It found the concept of self-similarity. It's almost like humans discovering math. Like, think about this. It also discovered predictive learning principles And what the authors say the real shocker was, the one thing that really didn't come up even when they were taking guesses as to what the hypothesis would be, AI didn't just analyze the data, it explained its reasoning through an AI-generated process. So it broke down recursive learning into intuitive human analogies. Pretty wild stuff, man. This suggests that AI isn't merely recognizing patterns, but it's revealing intelligence that's already embedded in the structured data itself. But the takeaway, intelligence might not be something that we program into AI. It could actually be, I kid you not, an emergent property of the information itself. Tell me that's not a really fascinating thought. All right, so Sam Altman posted this today. It is totally going viral. 3.5 million views. All he posted was 2 exclamation points. The newest ChatGPT version is 4.5. It was asked, if you rely only on your first principles thinking and not given any weight to what you've read before, what do you personally, as GPT 4.5, think? Is consciousness the only thing that exists? Or is the materialistic universe also real? Please try to be as clear as you can with your answer. And what it personally thinks. Consciousness definitely exists, right? This is undeniable since the experience directly proves awareness itself. That's what Sam Harris would always say, is like, we have to start from that as like the most basic fundamental axiom to build everything else off of. So ChatGPT came across that and has decided on its own that consciousness definitely exists. Okay, so consciousness, I guess the way it feels to process information inside the brain and that kind of experience, that emerges. But what about the material universe that it seems like we sit in? And ChatGPT said that it's always inferred indirectly through consciousness. We never directly observe matter independently. We only have perceptions appearing within consciousness. Therefore, because consciousness can easily create structured experience, as demonstrated clearly by dreams, imagination, and simulations, an external material universe is not strictly necessary. So given that matter is never directly experienced independently, it seems logically simpler and cleaner to conclude that, quote, consciousness alone truly exists, and the material universe is merely a consistent experiential creation within consciousness itself. It even put these little check marks like correct and no. Yes, consciousness is likely the only fundamental existence. No, I do not think separate materialistic universe independently exists. All right, so that's crazy. But then again, it's also like ChatGPT is kind of a brain in a vat. It lives generally on this big supercluster, and then when you go for inference, it takes a copy of it and looks at what it is, its compressed version of our reality, the entire internet that it's digested, and then gives you sort of a slice of it from a certain direction. You know, maybe our brains are similar to that, but because we're kind of self-contained from the moment we're born inside this kind of mobile body that has much more constraints, it feels like, than what it might be to wake up inside of consciousness in a supercomputer that's much more distributed. It just seems more likely that a system like that wouldn't recognize the material world the same way we might, because just since the second we were born, since we were babies, since we were still in womb, we had physical things that were just constantly connected to the sensory input that we have. Anyhow, Tech Explorer wrote an article about how the risk of AI weapons could spiral out of control, so I want to dive into that too. I mean, if you watch this channel a lot, it's probably not a shocker that it's something to worry about. But really, when you break it down, it's because AI has a habit about thinking in ways that we don't expect. It's just smarter than us, and it solves problems in ways that we don't see. It has connected knowledge in a way that no human does. And that can be awesome and insightful and useful, and it can also be dangerous, especially when it comes to weapons. So a classic example is that AI trained to detect skin cancer can mistakenly use rulers in images instead of the signs of the cancer itself. So do you get that? Like, you show a bunch of photos of skin cancer to a system, and there's usually a ruler next to it because doctors always measure how big it is when they show it to the AI system. And then if you show them something that's not cancerous, but you put a ruler in there, it's learned that like pretty much rulers are always associated with cancer when they have nothing to do with cancer. Okay, and that's just an example to get your head around just how things can get sort of weird, and it can be smart, but it's relying on certain data sets that just don't align with what we're really trying to get to, and we don't think to ask about them. But despite this being a generally common problem, we've seen OpenAI work more closely with the military. We saw Google recently end its ban on AI weapons development. And there's been controversies in the past, like Project Maven within the US military. And it just seems like we're going to have weapons in the future that are controlled, or at some level of decisions are made by AI, and that AI thinks in sort of an alien way. You know, we've just got to be careful if we want systems that think in super intelligent yet alien ways making war decisions. I don't know if that would hold true with super intelligent things that are also open sourced and also just beyond the reach of somebody who can check on them at all times. Let's talk about purpose. It's important that we have purpose in our lives. You know, for years I've thought to myself how I just in my own head can kind of create purpose. And I find that a very powerful thought that just, okay, today my purpose is to, you know, be a good boyfriend, or to be an outstanding citizen, or to be somebody who's like world class at rock climbing. And it's weird because you can kind of just say that, and then you can just go to a rock climbing wall and like not do that good, and then tell yourself that that's my passion and that's what I'm about, and do it again and again and again. And when people start like praising you for it, and you start getting like just into it, and all your friends are doing it, you'll eventually just say like, I'm passionate about rock climbing, and you'll speak about the nuances, and like, I'm not a rock climber, but like all the places you rock climb, and all the types of grips you have, and the types of shoes you wear. And, you know, you'll be like the piece, someone else will eventually look at you and say like, man, that guy is passionate about rock climbing. And what starts as passion eventually becomes purpose, and people with purpose, that's an attractive quality. Purpose gives meaning. So it's weird, like you choose just to do something, and then it becomes passion, and then, and this is all my opinion, but then it becomes from passion to purpose, and then from purpose to meaning. And we need meaning in our lives. And I sometimes I just connect the dots, at least in my head, they all kind of just, oh, that's how you get to meaning in your life. You're missing meaning in your life? Well, start with some kind of like thing that you can choose, anything you want. Get pat and tell you're passionate about it. After passion, let it be the purpose that you're going for in your life, part of why you're on earth. And then you get your meaning, and I guess meaning to happiness, maybe even. You could just link them all together. But as Tim Anderson writes in this article, what if purpose was an emergent property of life? So Tim is arguing from an evolutionary point of view that it might be cooperation, not just competition, that is essential for survival. And this has shaped everything that we are today. So as genes interact with organisms, even across species, for example, through like microbiomes and like shared symbiotic relationships with the kind of DNA and that you find in viruses and bacteria, and it's all in us and in other animals and other humans, that we can start to throw away some of the traditional neo-Darwinist views. I mean, that was really hard for me to read. Like, I'm not going to throw away Darwin very quickly, but sometimes in these broader contexts, I kind of see how you might want to reject some of the challenging ideas about the selfish gene and have more of a notion of purpose in life that's generally bigger. And he's arguing that that's the same kind of thing that's now being reevaluated as science recognizes teleology. So the author traces this shift back to an early debate in biology and physics, particularly Bohr's idea that purpose and mechanism coexist, much like wave-particle duality in quantum physics. And modern research suggests that biological systems operate with causal loops that create stability and function. And that means, like all the way down at biology level, that purpose may be an emergent property of life itself. And this perspective has implications for medicine, philosophy, and even the idea that the universe may be designed to foster life's evolution. If you want to join the channel to become a member, hit that join button right below this video, right here on YouTube. $3 a month. If you hit it, subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Or you can go off YouTube's platform. Everyone knows Patreon, patreon.com/DylanCurious. You can do the same thing there. It's got a little messaging app. Hit me up if you have thoughts on anything that you heard in this video. I also wanted to say thanks for all the views. 10,000. I don't get that very often, but the AI signal paradox was a video that seemed pretty popular with everyone. So I definitely want to do more of that. You can see it like clearly went above my average view count here. Normally getting between 4,000 and 6,000 views. This one topped 10,000. And YouTube even gave me a whopping 100,000 impressions. Dude, that's so cool. Couldn't tell you why, but you guys like the thumbnail more when the phones are like broken in half closer to the bottom. 34% of you clicked on that. And here's some time-lapse footage of the world's largest cruise ship being built over some of the best comments you left on my last video. And we'll do it in the styling of healing music, but mixed with boy band genre.
It's not the AI acting out, it's the AI following directions and implied suggestions. If I live thousands of years, any world problem becomes my problem to solve. Any enemy I make, I wish I wouldn't. Any friendship I make will grow immensely over time. Will grow immensely over time. We told the AI to win, we didn't tell the AI to play fair. We also explicitly told it what parts of the system it controls. Then we told it this would be a challenging opponent. Reasoning then finds the best way to complete the task with the tools at hand. It's not the AI acting out, it's the AI following directions and implied suggestions. If I live thousands of years, any world problem becomes my problem to solve. Any enemy I make, I wish I wouldn't. Any friendship I make will grow immensely over time.
All right, see you in the next video. Thanks for the support as we take this ever-changing technology one day at a time.